Okay, are you ready?
It's yours, Rich.
Okay, so let me see if I can get my screen share. Yeah, I told Nancy Mary I was going to um, do this by first names, but in some cases people only submitted it by last name. So I'll be calling out whoever's coming up next, and hopefully it's going to make sense to you guys. So. The first four pictures is by a person who's not here, my wife. She's at a city commission meeting. So she gave me a little briefing as to what she wanted to talk about. And okay, this we just did a trip, a 4,000-mile trip to around Hot Springs. I'll talk about that a little bit. But this is what's called as a musk thistle. It's an invasive. And it is different from, the thistle that you usually see, the Scottish thistle, which is sort of a straight up. But there was a whole bunch of these when we were at St. Mark's National Wildlife Reserve. And if you discover them by accident, they are very thorny. Do not step on them. Do not grab them unless you're wearing gloves. Okay, this is a spiderwort.
Beautiful.
Again, this was sort of growing wild over at St. Mark's National Wildlife Reserve. And I forget what she told me to say about this, so we'll all pretend I said a lot of really good things. Okay. This and the next picture were taken on Gasparilla Island. One of the things we did on this trip was we tried to see lighthouses on the West Coast. I'm trying to get to see all the lighthouses in Florida. Anyhow, so she was taking this picture. She was actually focusing on the spider web down at the bottom right. But being one to take advantage of opportunity, as she was focusing, a bee landed. So she was able to get that close up.
Nice.
So that is her show and tell. The next presenter is Don Schwartz. And I think I just hit a whole bunch of, there we go. Let me get back here. Okay, yeah, Don, it's all yours.
Yeah, hi.
You can unmute and tell us about it.
Hey, this is January 1st of 2024. I was watching at a gator hole, and who shows up but an American bittern? And this is one of many photos that I took. I took photos and video, and was surprised to see how much information, or the least amount of information, about this bird. I've been doing some studying, and it just seems that it hides a lot, and it's not easy to find. But was very pleased with getting this. The other one that I showed last month, which was Critique, the first one, was part of this series. Same day, same time. Next. April 8th at Loxahatchee. The American bittern was also at Loxahatchee. I'm going to my car at the Marsh parking lot, and who appears from the other side of my car and running fast, it turns out, was a wild Florida turkey, female, it seems. It stayed around for about, I would think, 10 days, and it disappeared, whether it moved on or something else happened. But this was the first time it's been seen at Loxahatchee in quite a while. Next. Also at Loxahatchee, I was following a mother gator with hatchlings, And over a period of time, the lily pads started to grow up where they were water level, and the hatchlings found a new location to lay on. I've gotten quite a few photos. I figured this one was a good one with the mouth open. That's always seems to be a showstopper. And also you can see the teeth.
Mhm.
The hatchlings do and have teeth when they are born, and they eat themselves. Stop taking the pictures because the lily pads got higher where the hatchlings couldn't get on. But this was quite a sight. First time I've seen that.
Hmm.
And also at Waxahachie. Next. This was on the pavilion at Waxahachie behind the visitor center. There's 2 barred owls and 3 big babies that are there right now. This one was on a snag and the light was shining, and the quite a few of the photographers got photos of the bird while it was staying there, and then it flew off. I tell everybody, they see you, you have to find them. And they're there. A couple of days ago, somebody got the 3 babies and one of the parents. So a good challenge and a good adventure. Thanks.
John, would you mind telling us again whereabouts you saw these?
This is the Arthur R. Marshall Waxahachie National Wildlife Refuge in Boynton Beach.
Right, I meant where in where in the property?
Oh, okay, this is right behind the visitor center. There's a pavilion,
Uh-huh.
and this was viewed from that pavilion. It was on a snag, maybe 150 feet away.
Wow.
Something like that. It was there for a while and then it flew off.
Yeah.
But
What was the time of day?
uh, they're there all the time. People have gotten them at 9 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's hard to say. A week or so before this, me and one other fellow, Michael, we actually got one of the parents on a branch calling out, taking off with breakfast hanging from its claws.
Uh-huh.
So another snag, stayed there for a while. Breakfast was still hanging, and then it flew to between 2 of the babies and fed the babies for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
So they're there, and you just don't know when they're going to show up or where you're going to find them.
Great.
Yep. Any other questions?
Ready for me to move on?
Thanks. Yep.
Okay, so next is Gary Schurer. Gary,
Hello,
there you go.
can you hear me? Hear me? Good. Okay. Picture of spoonbill I took at Wakotahachie. It was pretty close to the boardwalk. I was able to get down low to shoot him kind of head on, and the lighting was really nice that I was able to get the catch light in his eye.
Mm.
I love these birds. The colors are amazing. So, next. Also Wakotahachie, white pelican, which I've only seen there this one time when I was there for a couple of days. It was about a year ago. It was pretty far away, which was a pretty big crop, but I love the mood of it where he's kind of just standing out with a very cool reflection. Next. Okay, this was actually taking in my backyard. I live on a lake. It was early morning, and this anhinga came up with this fish, and the lighting was just perfect.
Mm.
And couldn't believe the size of the fish relative to him. So I had a good series of pictures that I took. This was one of my favorites.
Did he get it down?
Yes, he did,
Yeah.
which is amazing how it goes down his throat. You can actually see it as it goes down.
Yes. They are amazing that they can do that.
Next, this was a Waxahachie. These cranes pretty friendly. You get pretty close to them. I was walking around with them, and they kind of crisscrossed. And I like the composition
Mhm.
of the with the forming, of course, in the necks. And then in post, I made the background go dark to bring up the contrast of the colors. Any questions? I think
Very
that's
nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Next
thanks,
is,
thanks for looking.
okay,
I also loved your pelican. The lighting was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful.
I love the pelican also. I was going to say that could translate well to someone doing it in oil or acrylic or watercolor painting because of the beautiful reflection in the water.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very impressionistic, yeah.
Gary, that was an amazing shot of the anhinga with the fish. Both of the eyes were like crystal clear. And they were almost on the same plane, I guess. It was just like I mean, you got an amazing photo there. I mean, it's just the colors, the perfect focus, just a great action shot.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea what kind of fish that was? It looked a little bit like a small tarpon.
That's why I thought it was a carp, but I'm not sure.
Is it possible to get tarpon back in that lake?
Yes,
perhaps?
yes.
ready for me to push on?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank,
next,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, next is Mr. Heimlich, I guess that's Barry.
Okay, that's me. How you doing, everybody?
Great.
Well, this photograph was taken across the from
Green K.
in late March. This is the female great horned owl. She was way up high in the tree by the nest, about 60 feet or more above the ground. And I have a 600 millimeter lens with a crop camera, so that the effective focal length is 960. And so I was able to get this really close shot with that. Anyway, the owls were accessible for about a month there in March and April, but the powers that be cordoned it off as they should to protect the nest. So there is one baby, and it's almost full grown now, I've been told.
Next,
This roseate spoonbill I took at Peaceful Waters on the best day of birding and for bird photography I've ever had on January 16th, 2016. There were 50 or more spoonbills. There were dozens of American white pelicans, and there were so many egrets I couldn't count them all. And I've never seen a day like that since. Any rate, one of the things I like about this picture is the reflection, but also the ripples provide interesting patterns on the reflection of light in the water. In post, I darkened the background and then combined it with a gradient using the masking tools in Lightroom. And I was able to black out the background and bring up the foreground so you could see the reflections. And so I think it's enabled me to get this this artistic effect. Next. Rich, you showed a picture of this same plant. I don't know the name of it, but that, you know, these tiny little yellow buds. This is a yellow jacket. This picture was taken at Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. Sure of what the
flower is a milkweed, by the way.
milkweed?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a host plant for monarch butterflies.
Yes, right. In fact, I used to, where I lived before, I planted them in my backyard, but I didn't recognize them. At any rate,
Yeah.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
There was a lot of clutter around this picture, so I blackened out the background. And okay, next. You know, I like to bring flowers home to my wife from time to time, and every now and then you find a perfect specimen or near perfect specimen of a rose or some other flower. This picture actually was of an orange rose, and I played around with the exposures and what have you. I isolated the rose from the background, as you can see, but then I started playing around with the color, and it came up looking better in yellow than it did in orange. So that's the result I got here.
Looks good in yellow.
Next picture.
Okay, next is Holly Crane.
Oh,
Did you think we missed one of yours, Barry?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 4 pictures of yours.
Yep.
That's right. I got them all.
It's
I
okay.
can't count. I'm getting older, I guess.
It happens.
Yeah.
I think they were all beautiful. Excellent work.
Thank you, Barry. Hey, Holly, you there?
I'm here.
Speak up, girl.
I'm here.
Okay, we are displaying your coyote, I guess it is.
No, it's a fox. It's a fox. This is a fox from Prince Edward Island, Canada. This is what is called a cross fox. It's a red fox, but it's just one of the color morphs. It's really kind of dramatic. They're fairly uncommon color morph, but they're absolutely beautiful. And they have these amazing orangish eyes that are very piercing. Unfortunately, Prince Edward Island had a very bad plague of mange that went through and killed about 60–70% of their foxes right after we were there. And we had gone specifically to see the foxes, so it was kind of heartbreaking, but we have some wonderful, photographic memories of them anyway. Okay, next. All right. This is a little owl telling me to go away. It was just one of these, lady, just get out of here. It was directly behind the visitor center at Loxahatchee, and I enjoyed the framing and the colors of the foliage at the time. I thought he was real cute.
Very pretty.
Next. All right, this is one of my conservation shots. It's a redneck grebe up in Toronto, Canada. These birds every year come in to the little docks that are downtown in Toronto, right on the lake. And they court, they build their nests, they have their families every year, like right in front of people, right? You can walk out on floating docks and see them about 2 or 3 feet away. What's really heartbreaking is that this, this guy is putting all kinds of plastic and trash and nonsense into his nest platform. They do try to put platforms out there for them, but unless we clean the water up, I don't know how it's going to turn out for them in the long run. Okay, thank you. Next.
That is hard to see.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And this is Mr. Entertainment at Fort DeSoto, one of the show-stopping reddish egrets, doing one of his postures doing fishing out there. These birds never fail to entertain, never fail to pose nicely. And that's it. Anybody have a question?
Are they doing anything to clean up that water?
I really don't know.
It's very sad to see that.
Yeah, and it's a very obvious display of how polluted it is.
Yes.
It's really kind of sick. I'm sure there are people that care. I'm just not quite sure how much money they're devoting to it, just like here,
Yeah. And the foxes, is there any organization there that can help them with when mange hits?
Well, that's a very long, sad story. Yeah, there are groups that have always been there called Fox Aid, and what they do is they make an attempt to give medication to the foxes that basically live in their backyards when they see them with mange. But the bureaucracy, of course, doesn't trust citizens to take care of it, and they want it to be dealt with by veterinarians, but they don't want to spend any money to do any kind of veterinary intervention. So they've made it illegal and very difficult to get the medications that they need. But people somehow have managed to get it black market, and they get the ivermectin and the other medications that they can use, and they put them in meatballs and do whatever they have to in order to dose, the foxes that they know. It's important to not overdose them, so
Sure.
you have to have a very conscientious, fox guardian in order to do it. But it seems as though it's working. I mean, there's certainly more foxes now than there were, but it used to be like a wonderland of foxes, and they lost almost all of them.
Very
Really,
sad.
really sad.
Beautiful pictures.
Thank you.
Holly, by the way, I really like the plumage on the reddish egret, particularly that one plume going across the head. It took me a while to figure out what that was, but I guess it must be its breeding plumage. But it's stunning. It's just that plumage is stunning on the reddish egret in your photo.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, sometimes he shows up with feathers that almost look white. It's like there's a lot of strange feather replacement going on in these guys, but they're stunning birds.
Yes.
The immature egrets are white. What they like little blue herons. And
No,
more,
this is the fully adult one, Barry.
well, there is a white morph also.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is a
yeah.
white dwarf.
Yeah, there is some whites, but they don't show up as often as the dark morph.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
All righty,
Thank
next,
you.
we're going to J.C. Roy.
Hello,
Hi there, Jean-Claude.
good evening, everybody. First of all, I have to say that I'm no expert in identifying birds or bird names. When I see something I like, I take it and then I put it on Google, and Google tell me what the name of the bird. So
Mhm.
I think photography is, you know, a lot of luck. Of course, you have to know how to handle your equipment, but being there at the right time, and I think that's why seeing what some other people may not see, but I am no expert in the names of these birds, or the categories, and what they eat and what they feed and when they. For example, this one, I put it on Google and it said it's a lesser yellow legs, a bird, but that's all I know about it. I was in peaceful waters across from the polo grounds, and I was taking pictures of many different birds. And I see this one, he was stretching, and I said, "That's a good shot." So and that's it.
And
Next.
Next,
Nice.
you're muted, Jean-Claude.
Ah,
Oh, you got it, Mina?
Yep, got it now.
good. Better.
This is a pair of butterflies from the butterfly world. They were mating, and all I did to that was to not flip it, but turn it over so it could be horizontal and not vertical. And if you pay attention to it, you will see that the butterfly doesn't rest on anything, the lower one. Anyway, so I was, interested luck of having this pair of butterfly mating, and that's why I took the shot.
Very nice.
Next.
Ah, your
You're-
sound is off again.
You're muted again.
Why does it do that? Anyway,
Good question.
this pair of hawks are from Green Cay. And again, there was a question of luck. As I was walking by, I saw this, this male trying to have his action. And I took a series of shots, and this is one of them. So again, it's a matter of luck, being there at the right time.
Very nice.
Next.
Whoops.
Oh, here we go. And I'm not muted. And this one is a tricolor heron.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Loxahatchee, where most photographers go and try to see the bunting. I took pictures of indigo bunting there, both male and female. And I was on my chair waiting for these bunting birds to come. And this guy, less than 5 feet from me, in the small string, trying to fish. So I waited for the right opportunity, right time, and took it. That's it.
Very nice.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we got Larry Gladstone. Lawrence, you there?
Hmm.
He's not here, Rich, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Well,
So
we could take a look at them.
and I'll go through them slowly. If he joins us, we can return to him at the end.
Good. Very pretty.
Nice.
Is that a Cooper or a young
Yes,
Cooper?
yes, male.
Nice.
And this is his last one. Okay, and next is Mary. as in Mary Young.
Are you with us, Mary? Scott?
Scott, wake her up.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So we're having trouble in our house because we have our computers next to each other and one is unmuted and we have to mute the other one and all that. So this is the cypress tree at Peaceful Waters. And I grew up in West Palm Beach and I always thought that, and I lived here all my life, and I always felt that Florida never had any seasons until I realized this now at this point in my life, that this is a cypress tree in the winter without its leaves. And as a kid, I always thought that the trees were dying, these cypress trees. I didn't know their names or anything, but so I was really happy to know that when they got their leaves back and they were okay, but now they're just beautiful. And I really am struck by their knees, especially this tree at Peaceful. But anyway, and then the next one is Grassy Waters. We, Audubon Everglades, went on a canoe sunset trip there recently, and I just never appreciated the Everglades like I do now, because the only reference I had to it when I was growing up was when our family would drive across the state to the other coast, and we would go on Tamiami Trail, and sometimes our car would break down, so we would the kids would take buckets off the road into the water and fill it and hand them to our dad, who poured it under the hood of the car. And maybe it was the overheated radiator, I don't know, but that was my reference to the Everglades until now. And I realized that the refuge, Loxahatchee National Refuge, is part of the Northern Everglades. So it's amazing how much I didn't know about the place I grew up in. And then the next one is Florida Forest, which growing up, I always was disappointed in our forests here, because I would see photographs in magazines of forests in the mountains where there was so much shade, and I was standing in the heat here. But now I totally appreciate this landscape. And then the next one, the last one, I titled it Uh-oh, because when I came upon this in my yard, I realized that the caterpillar was chewing the leaf that the pupa or chrysalis was hanging from. And it was about to fall. And luckily the butterfly had already emerged. But this was an amazing thought that this could happen in nature, where one of the similar species can make a hazard for the other ones. So anyway, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we got Nancy Clements.
Hello.
Nancy.
Hi.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself. I'm probably, I don't know most of you. I was a member of Audubon Everglades for several years, and then I let my membership lapse probably during COVID years and moved up to Tallahassee and moved to Lake Osborne about a year ago, and never considered myself too much of a birder, but I've loved photography since I was little. So I thought I would join your group, and I do find myself walking at least 6 to 7 days a week along the lake, and every day is just fantastic here. So this was just a silhouette of, that might be a grackle, I'm not sure, but I called it musical notes just because it reminded me with the power lines over there that it was sitting like a musical note, and I just thought it was pretty there. So I'm usually out at sunset because that's the coolest time of day. And now a group of us walked the lake, and I heard during COVID times when the beaches were closed, so many drove over to Lake Osborne, and yeah, everybody was walking and biking and jogging and socializing because they couldn't get to the beaches. But anyway, so I've fallen in love with Lake Osborne, and just every day is a wonderful treasure here. So next. I think I don't know if those are the mourning doves, the ring-necked birds. I'm not sure. I don't know my birds, but I just happened upon them grooming one another. And I just thought it was so beautiful, and their eyes were both closed at that time. When they realized I was photographing them, I had a few other photos of them staring at me and then slowly moving away because I usually find them pretty skittish and they don't want their photos taken. But I just thought it was such a loving shot, the way they were grooming, one another. Oh, okay, Eurasian collared doves. Okay, thank you. Next. Yeah, the sunsets here are just spectacular. I mean, every day there's a group of us that watch the sunset. I mean, all along the lake, all around it. We had a full moon, I guess, that night before or that day, and I don't know if that affected the sun. Once in a while you have those amazingly huge red orbs in the sky, and with the palm trees, I thought, is this like an African sunset or is this Lake Osborne? And I have not been to Africa, but when I see pictures of the red skies there, I just think, wow, we are so lucky. We get these gorgeous, gorgeous sunsets almost every day. And I just use my iPhone 15. I grew up using a little Instamatic with the flash cube on top and got a 35 millimeter in high school, which I used many, many years. But now I'm just using my iPhone. So as someone new, I would appreciate if you guys have any, just filling me in on what kind of cameras you use, and if anyone else is using iPhones, and as well, because I have the 15. I had the 6S Plus for many years and then just graduated to the 15 Pro. But again, I haven't taken my 35 millimeter out of the closet in a long, long time. So thank you. Next. Excuse me, this is just a very well camouflaged blue heron. And I just, even though it's hard to see the blue heron, I called it hidden bird because I just loved how well camouflaged it was. And I could have walked right by it, the branches and the lighting, and the blue heron's features, of course, caused it to blend in so well. And I just love how a lot of the birds here are so well camouflaged. I could miss them easily. So instead of walking the paved path, oftentimes I just go into the grass and along the shore. And I just love the camouflage abilities of all of these birds. And just finding one, being surprised by all of their wonderful techniques for hiding and blending in. So that's it. I haven't learned, I don't have any apps. I haven't learned any editing techniques yet. So I hope to learn those things one day. Thank you. That's it.
Nancy, there's quite a few apps you can get for the phone to do.
Okay.
And what is it called? YouTube has a million instructions, and there are classes, probably free, that you can take advantage of on YouTube specifically for your cell phone.
Okay, thank you. I'll try that.
Where is Lake Osborne?
Okay, so I'm between 12th Avenue South and Lake Worth Beach and 6th Avenue South. And then if you're Lantana Road, most people know the big Costco on the north side of Lantana Road, and that intersects, I guess, the north and south end of Lake Osborne. So it's
okay.
Lake Worth Beach, just west of Dixie Highway and east of Congress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Nancy Freeman, you're next.
Yeah. So this was taken at Blue Cypress Lake. We went there for the osprey, but obviously we're going to take advantage of any other birds that will be there. And this particular bird always fascinates me. And what I found amazing about him is you look at him and you can see him looking directly at you. He had such a strong stare, and we were fairly far away, but I just had no doubt that he was looking at me and knew I was there.
Pretty.
What was that?
Pretty.
Thank you. Yes, so I was so fascinated with him. I took 2 pictures of him. Well, more than that, but I picked two pictures. And this is a peregrine falcon, by the way. And he is one of the fastest birds and most lethal birds. His only food that he eats, primarily anyway, is birds, other birds. And the way he does it is by diving, usually diving up from above, and he can get to the speed of almost 200 miles an hour. He hits the bird, knocks it out, and then grabs it and has lunch or dinner or breakfast. Let's see. Oh, next.
Great shot.
Thank you. And this was him leaving his perch. And I just thought he looked, I hate to say it that way, but he just looked so evil in this. He looked like he was an illustration in a book for a scary bird. And that's why I picked this one. And sometimes I really like just the white background, the high key. And I thought he worked pretty well in the high key.
The talons especially. Wow.
Yeah. And that eye just almost gave me the chills looking at this one. Next.
There's a big eye, must have good vision.
Yes. Yeah, definitely from the way in which he feeds. So this one. I went to 3 different places that had rosettes, and I was just trying to remember. I think this one was Orlando Wetlands. Yes, that's where it was. First time I was ever at Orlando Wetlands was about a week or 2 ago, and I just loved it there. And it was a major nesting place for roseate spoonbills. There was also great egrets there, and one of the other birds that I never saw so many was black-crowned night herons were nesting there. And they were very, very busy, just like this roseate spoonbill, back and forth and back and forth. So, so much fun watching them and trying to tug sticks off of trees to get to bring back to the nest. Next. And this is one of the black-crowned night herons. And I loved all of some people call it Spanish moss, or Tillandsia is its specific name. And he was in this little spot resting a minute, and then he was going to try to get a stick from somewhere in that area. And they were just back and forth and back and forth. It was, I've never seen so many black-crowned night herons, no less flying. It was quite exciting to see so many. And they're just beautiful. And the light was kind of nice. So it was a good day. This was taken in the morning. The roseate was taken in the late afternoon. So we stayed overnight. So we got the afternoon light on one side of this pathway where the birds were. And then in the morning, we got the light on the other side. And the one side, the late afternoon was great for the rosies, and the morning light was great for the black-crowned night herons. Next, if there is one, I don't remember.
And I guess I'm up.
Yep. That was mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Okay, this picture was taken in Ichetuckney Springs State Park, which is just west of Lake City, Florida, in the northern part of Florida. And this looks more like a Monet, but in trying to take this picture, this is a clear springs. I mean, you can see the bottom as clear as anything, but it is almost impossible. I don't know how many pictures just trying to see the clearness, and it's almost impossible to get to see on a two-dimensional photograph. But this is the best I could come up with.
If I could make a suggestion, maybe if you try to use a UV, a polarizing lens on your camera.
Polarizing filter on your lens.
Yeah, and which unfortunately I didn't have at the time, but yeah. Yeah, I've subsequently learned, so now I have to go back and try that. Thanks a lot.
Or you can just go underwater.
Yeah.
And that will show.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the effect is really neat.
Yeah. This is all part of a vacation that my wife and I just took, and part of our vacation took us to Dallas, well, to Texas, and specifically, the area up on the just west of the interstate, near a city called Ennis, is right now they're having their bluebonnet season. And the hills are just loaded with bluebonnets, and I was sort of enthralled by this plant and was trying to just get a close-up of it to see what it really looked like. And so this is a bluebonnet. Maybe next time I'll show what the hills look like.
That would be nice.
This is a longhorn cow. Yes, their horns go about 6 feet at least. A little story about this particular cow and 2 others that are not in the picture. Behind the cow was a cow. Behind this picture was a cow that had a calf. And I was up against the fence. I was not even in the, I was not trespassing. And all of a sudden we realized that this cow and the other 2 was slowly walking towards me. Like they're protecting the cow and its calf. That's why the cow is staring directly at the camera. This was the point at which we decided time to leave. And the reason for our trip took us to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Got only about 700 pictures of the eclipse. And this is one of the better ones that came out. The so-called diamond ring.
Very nice.
So that is my part if you have any questions. Okay, so I will now turn over to Scott.
Rich, before I go, how many eclipse shots did you take for that one, to get that one shot that's really incredible, by the way?
No, that's the one shot. But how many of the ring? I think I only took about 50.
Okay.
Basically I had a remote, had my remote trigger, and I just was taking multiple pictures because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
And of course, right after this is a rush to put the filter back on before the sun creeps out, so you don't destroy the camera.
Right. Or your eyes. Or your eyes, yes.
So, okay, I'll turn over to Scott.
Okay, so this whole series is basically called Woodstork because they're all Woodstork shots. I don't take my camera out often enough anymore. But on this particular day, we were at, one of the very, very unfamiliar birding places called Wakota
Yeah.
And of course, the Woodstocks are just so prominent there. And this is right, after you walk, when you first walk into the entrance, right on the first the boardwalk there, the straight boardwalk.
Mhm.
In the trees, they're just standing there regally on top of the apple pond apple trees.
Yeah.
Yes. And this was towards the end of the day. It wasn't yet, the sun wasn't quite setting yet, and you'll see some of that shot later. But I just couldn't stop looking at their feathers, and their feathers are just stunning. And they seem to get whiter during breeding. I could be wrong, but I just have that sense. Maybe it's just more contrast. I'm not sure. But these white feathers and the fact that the wind was blowing, and it was, I just couldn't stop taking pictures. I think out of the 500 pictures I took that day, 400 were wood storks.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, next shot, Rich. So wood stork 2, and I showed this one last month at the critique.
Yeah.
I really like this one because the heads are like perfectly angled together, so it looks almost like one head with
Yes.
2 eyes. And I just, it just worked for me. And again, the feathers also were so cool because they're blowing slightly, and the wood stork in the front is preening, and both of the eyes are relatively clear. And again, this was earlier before that really golden sunlight came in. But I really enjoyed the position of their heads here. And so next shot, Rich. And this is another 2-shot of wood storks. Again, the feathering is amazing, and they remind me almost. I thought back to the Elizabethan, gentlemen of the court who had those white collars, and they're just so regal standing there. I sometimes find when I see them, I take them for granted, I think sometimes, and I forget how beautiful these guys are. And they're really just so stunning to see. And it reminded me of them when I just stopped and looked and enjoyed, and how wonderful wood storks really are. Last shot. And final shot of wood storks. And this is towards when the sun was setting. You can see it's more golden here, and the lighting is softer. And again, they're just stunning. And the feathers, particularly on this shot, were my favorite. Again, it really, those collars just stand out. They're all puffed up, and they're just, again, so wonderfully regal. I will never overlook wood storks again.
Beautiful shots.
Thank you, Scott. And that is it for the photo share. Thank everybody for submitting your pictures. I think there was some great shots from everybody.
Thanks,
So
Rich, for doing it.
I'm going to stop it and turn it back over to Nancy.
I guess what I want to do first would be open it to any comments or discussion or questions anybody has about any of the pictures they saw. And if necessary, maybe Rich can find them if we want to look at them. Does anybody have any questions about any of the images or anything? Paula, if you have to turn your sound on. Everybody can turn their sound back on. I can mute everybody, but I don't know if I can unmute everybody.
Very nice photos.
If we have a moment, I wouldn't mind seeing the.
Oops, Scott, you're muted. I
Oh
thought,
yeah, sorry. I wouldn't mind seeing the anhinga and fish shot again.
yeah.
I would just love to see that. I just wanted to look more carefully at that. I didn't get a long enough look.
Think you could find that, Rich? If you're talking, your sound is off also. So we can't hear you, Rich.
Okay, give me a second here.
I think that's Barry's shots.
No, it's mine.
Okay,
It's
so
Gary's, yeah. Gary's, yeah.
Barry, okay.
It's just fun seeing them rewound.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, again, just great detail here. And the detail also on the anhinga too, on its feathering, its wet feathers, and that
Mhm.
that beautiful gleam coming off the fish, the iridescent quality. Such a great shot. I wish I had taken it.
Like Barry said, takes a lot of luck sometimes.
Yeah, I know. And I've only seen this maybe 4 times, and I have one halfway decent shot of it, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
I have a whole series, and one of them you can actually see the blood dripping down the fish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I know we tend not to want to show those shots because we don't want to make people feel squeamish.
Right.
I know, but that is the reality. What a great shot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other demands?
Hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing the sandhill crane pair. Yeah, I really like this. I love the contrast, the background, the bright eyes. I just think it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that shade of red orange up the top of their heads.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind seeing the owl again, the very colorful close-up of the owl. Um,
Let's see.
Other
You
direction.
mean just the upper head of the owl? The one-
yeah,
Yeah.
That one?
yes. Yeah, it just looks like a painting to me. I study acrylic painting and watercolor and oil, and this just looks like a beautiful painting. It's so gorgeous.
Did you use a technique to get that effect, or was it?
I think it's a shallow field, depth of field, that the pine needles behind them were blurred. That
I've sometimes gotten that effect if I use, what is it called? Noise, reducing the noise. Did you do noise reduction on this?
it perhaps, because I mean, did take this picture pretty high ISO,
Yeah.
but
Because that is an effect I get sometimes if I go too far with the trying to decrease the noise. It does that. And it's very painterly looking.
Mhm.
I agree. It's nice.
Does anyone else use iPhones, or is everyone using 35 millimeters? And do you print up your pictures, or how do you do it these days? I'm just curious.
I don't use an iPhone, but I use a Samsung phone for a lot of landscapes,
Mhm.
but I haven't printed. Usually I use it for posting.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife uses either an old Android
Mhm.
or a bridge camera, which is not strictly, which is not a DSLR. It's more of a point and shoot type, and she gets some great effects from it.
Did she
Thank
use
you.
that on the flowers that she did?
A lot of those were probably taken with her Android.
Really? Wow. Because they had very good detail. I love this picture.
Beautiful.
I think it was her Android, her cell phone, but I wasn't watching when she took it.
Well, the one thing about using cell phone with things like flowers is you can get close. With birds, it's a little difficult because they're so small and usually further away, so the cell phone is not necessarily a
Yeah.
great choice. But there is a woman down in Miami. I forget the name. There's a beautiful gardens down there, well known, and she teaches iPhone classes, and she's very good. So if you want more information, you could contact the AE email address and I can look it up and get back to you with it if you would be interested.
And Nancy, by the way, even in the iPhone, even the iPhone, the photo app on iPhone has a number of editing options.
There's, yeah, there's quite a few different apps you can use besides even the iPhone app.
Okay,
Lightroom has a free app for the phone as well.
okay.
So
Nancy, did you mean Vizcaya in Miami?
I'm sorry, did you
Did you-
ask,
did
have
you
I ever
mean-
been to Vizcaya?
Did you mean Vizcaya? There's a lot of gardens there.
Oh, no, I see what you're saying. No, I didn't mean, I like Vizcaya, but it's not that. It's just a gardens and I can't remember the name of it. But I can look it up and look up her name. Oh,
Fairchild Gardens.
Is it Fairchild?
that's it. Yes,
Fairchild? Yeah.
Fairchild Gardens, exactly. Yeah. And she teaches classes there. She's been doing it for years. She's very talented. And she does great stuff with it. So it can be a good tool. You just need to know its limitations and its strengths and how to use it. So, and does anybody have any other questions or want to see any other pictures that we looked at today? Whoa, is that you, Mary?
Me echoing. So I just wanted to point out that Edwin put a note in the chat that he used iNaturalist to identify the fish and that was a golden shiner, and that the iNaturalist app is excellent for all kinds of things, for plants and animals and insects and everything. So thanks, Edwin.
Oh, good to know.
iNaturalist has like a sub app that uses its database and AI called Seek, and it's much more user friendly. It just opens up your camera on your phone and you point it at whatever it is that you're looking at. You don't even need to take a picture, and it will identify the best it can. So I highly recommend that.
Do you get to it through iNaturalist or Seek is a separate?
No, it's a standalone app.
Okay.
I just put the name in the chat. It's on the App Store for iPhone and Androids.
Oh, good.
I think the only difference between the two is that Seek doesn't go into the database for iNaturalist, so it's not being used for science, for collecting science data, unless I'm mistaken. It is a
That's
wonderful
usually the
app because
case.
it's so much it's easier to use than iNaturalist, but the information I don't think goes into the scientific database.
Yeah, that's usually the case unless you decide to send it over. So if you log in with your iNaturalist account on Seek, you can choose to go ahead and post it easily.
Mm.
But that's only if you choose to set that up. Most of the time, people just use it to quick identify things.
I do.
Thanks. Good to know.
I like to photograph insects now and then, and I rarely know what I'm photographing. And I use an app called bugguide.net. Yeah, I believe it's net. And they're great. They're like specialists, people that are entomology specialists, and you just you log in, create a login and post your images that you're curious about, fill out some information, and they usually get back to you in less than 24 hours. And I just recently watched a bug in my backyard, which, because it was red, I thought it was a ladybug. And it was eating a very small, newly hatched caterpillar of the zebra butterfly. And it was, it must have a proboscis kind of thing that it must stick into and suck the juice out or something. It was holding this little caterpillar in the air. This tiny little bug was holding this tiny little caterpillar. And it was just very interesting. I watched it for a while and took a lot of pictures of it. And it turned out it was not a ladybug. It was a predatory stink bug. So, but a bright red,
Somebody, you mentioned with the reddish egret that they had seen them. The Merritt Island National Refuge, the Black Point Wildlife Tribe, is very reliable for reddish egret.
do you usually see more than one or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. I've rarely gone through there and not seen at least one.
That I haven't been up there in a long while, but when I was, we always saw at least one reddish egret in Merritt Island, not on the drive. There was this area, water that it seemed to really like. And I
Mhm.
think both times I was there, that's where I saw the reddish. That
Well,
was the first introduction.
The last two times we were there, we saw the reddish egrets right at the beginning of Wildlife Drive, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, and early on, and it was a pair each time, and they were, of course, they're wonderfully doing their dance as well. So that was really wonderful. By the way, we'll be Mikey, one of our new volunteer leaders, will be leading 3 critter walks coming up the next 3 months, which we'll be posting soon on Eventbrite. So if you, hopefully you follow us on Eventbrite, because if you do, you'll get the notices for those walks, and they'll be in the north part of the county. So it might be a great opportunity to photograph and be able to identify what you're photographing at the time as well. So that'll be coming up. So look for Eventbrite, and if you follow us on Eventbrite, you'll get the notifications of those field trips.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess it's a wrap.